So Donald Trump's never-ending election fraud is rearing its ugly head again at the moment in Pennsylvania, which Trump is trying to corruptly make the land of Oz. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So if you watch these daily Justice Matters videos, you know that I often express my frustration. I get pretty darn frustrated with the inaction of our federal government and our federal officials. Inaction in the gun violence arena. Inaction on the issue of unrestricted hate speech filling our airwaves, designed to inspire imminent violence against minorities, against immigrants, and against other populations, and probably most of all, frustrated with the lack of any accountability for the crimes of Donald Trump. And I get most frustrated by that because that one actually presents the easiest fix. And every day, probably like you, I try to balance my frustration with a need for patience, particularly patience regarding the insurrection investigation, because I recognize that that is an enormous undertaking by the Department of Justice, and DOJ needs to do that one well and thoroughly and effectively and in the most bulletproof manner possible. But today, the frustration has gotten the better of me because Donald Trump is at it again. His never-ending, unabated election fraud and his disgusting disregard for the will of the American voters. Now it's unfolding in Pennsylvania. And here's the reporting from CNN. Headline: Trump taints Pennsylvania GOP Senate primary with fresh fraud lies. And that article begins, ex-President Donald Trump is injecting his democracy-damaging fraud claims into a new election cycle, urging his friend Mehmet Oz, Dr. Oz, to simply declare he won a too-close-to-call race for the Republican Senate nomination in Pennsylvania, a key state in Trump's desperate bid to steal the 2020 election. He's frustrated, he being Trump, he's frustrated that Oz is having to wait for counts of absentee ballots and delayed votes counted in person. Those votes are just as valid as any cast in person. But Trump is running the same corrupt playbook that he used nearly 2 years ago to falsely claim he won a second term. Here's what Trump says, quote, Dr. Oz should declare victory. It makes it much harder for them to cheat with the ballots that they just happened to find, Trump wrote on his ironically named social media network, Truth Social. The reason this has me so frustrated, a former president continuing to poison the election process, injecting false fraud claims, figuratively into the veins of the American people, undermining confidence in our elections. The reason I'm so damn frustrated is because it doesn't have to be this way. If prosecutors, state and federal, would just step up and charge Donald Trump with the crimes that he inarguably committed. Start with Donald Trump's 2016 conspiracies, plural, conspiracies to steal the presidency. A conspiracy with Michael Cohen to commit campaign finance violations to help him corruptly win the presidency, and, hey Russia, if you're listening, help me corruptly win the presidency, and Russia was listening, and it did help him corruptly win the presidency. Prosecute Trump for those crimes. Bribery and extortion of President Zelensky, we can prove that beyond a reasonable doubt. Prosecute Trump for those crimes. Obstructing justice, 10 times over, as documented in Volume 2 of Bob Mueller's Trump-Russia report. Prosecute Trump for those crimes. Obstructing official proceedings when Trump told all of his executive branch officials do not comply with lawfully issued congressional subpoenas. Prosecute Trump for his crimes. Witness tampering of Ambassador Marie Yovanovitch while she was testifying before Congress. Prosecute Trump for his crimes. His lies to the American people about a deadly pandemic that resulted in what were otherwise avoidable COVID deaths. Prosecute Trump for his crimes. And of course, the insurrection and a boatload of related offenses against the United States. Prosecute Trump for his crimes. And yes, that's just a representative sample, just scratches the criminal surface of what Donald Trump has done. And he's still at it because we let him. Because there's been zero accountability for even a single crime Donald Trump has committed. At some point, when you see a crime wave in progress, you've got to intervene. You've got to intervene to protect the American people, to protect our elections, to protect our democracy. Because justice matters. So, frustration, won the battle for this old prosecutor today. But tomorrow's another day. And we fight on. Friends, as always, please stay safe. Please stay tuned. And I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.